Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, about a month ago or so, Plasma 527 dropped, and I want to go ahead and talk about it. I know there's a few other people who have mentioned it, but I wanted to give my thoughts. So I installed this about a week ago. I've been playing around with it off and on the GNOME boxes on my laptop here for a little bit, and I wanted to just kind of walk through Plasma. First and foremost, let's do a brief overview of Plasma as a general for anybody that may not be as familiar with it or anybody new, and then we'll get into some of the new features. So Plasma is actually derived from one of the oldest of the desktop environments. It is the most highly customizable and, in my opinion, probably has the best overall appearance out of the box as far as default theming. Like Cinnamon, I love it. Default theming of Cinnamon outside of Linux Mint is horrendous. Default theming on XFCE and Mate, excuse me, 1990s, may I have my desktop operating system back. But Plasma is actually one of the ones that really looks amazing out of the box. So if you're looking for something that you can install on your distro that you're not going to have to mess around with theming, this one is a good option if that really is your thing. Other good notable mentions, of course, Budgie generally looks really good, and GNOME does if you don't like customization. Now, the downside is also the massive customization. We're here in the quick settings, and inside of this is just tons of things. Now, they've organized this a few versions ago to make it way easier to understand, so you actually don't get lost in the settings as easy as you used to. But there are so many things inside of it, you really should just sit there and read manuals to figure out how to use everything. But we have everything from drivers, network connections, your hardware sections. We have basic personalization for your users. We have workspace, appearances, all these things. Now, the default layout looks very much like this, and there are actually several different types of menus, like a lot of systems. XFCE, for example, notably has a whisker menu and a few other types of menus. And on Plasma, you can actually right-click on an element and show alternatives. Now, there are actually more than just this, but these are the basic alternatives that you can very easily switch between on the menus. So here's this menu setting here, and then we have the launcher. So this is the launcher here. Let me close that so there's no bugs by switching to an alternative. The dashboard, here's the application menu. It looks like as though the one that was my favorite, I think it was the launcher, but I think they tweaked it. I really liked the older version. I think it was of the launcher before, but that's actually okay. I actually really like the new one as well. This menu there is not my favorite. I still do like, of all of these, I like this one the most. Now, you can actually get extra plugins, and you can install one that is exactly like Windows 10, and there's a few other options out there as well. Nearly everything, whether even like this is like a peek at desktop, which doesn't minimize everything like the Windows does, but more like shows the desktop more like Apple does. Let me see if it still does this or not. Let me just go ahead and click on this button here, and then if you pull any item up, you'll see that it's just going to bring everything up. Well, I actually like the option where it does minimizing everything, so I'll just go ahead and switch to this one instead. Now every tab is minimized, and I can pull everything back up individually. Of course, I just click to discover. We'll get to that in a bit. And so that's one of the great things about it, is there's so many cool things you can do just inside the system itself. So that really is a really nice feature, making Plasma one of the better ones. Now, sometimes it does feel a little bit sluggish. I use Plasma as the default on my work computer because my work computer is a Raspberry Pi, and I wanted to go with something a little bit more modern than XFCE. I went with Plasma, and it does seem to lag a little bit on the Pi, but that's a Raspberry Pi. I'm not sure if that's something I would experience on a system like this, but overall, though, this system does work inside of everything I need, and it has, as it's progressed along, gotten snappier and snappier. So it really is a nice system. It does have its own default software manager called Discover. Now, if you have used Plasma in the past, you're like, this doesn't look like Discover. No, it doesn't. This was one of the major things that they did in the new version of this in 5.27 is they did a lot of changes to this, making it a lot better. Now, of course, you'll see down here that we have an update, and there's 26 updates here. You can click on this and see exactly what they are and things. I installed Element. This is the only application I installed that was not installed on the system. And this, by the way, I didn't mention earlier, this is KDE-Neon, which is the best place to look at all the latest features because that's exactly what it's designed for. So that was a flat pack. I just did that to test flat pack integration. And there are a lot of different options we have inside of here. So you can see here, it actually added FlatHub out of the box. You can add a source. So if you want to add another Flatpak repository, maybe it's a custom software you're working on, or you know there's a good reputable Flatpak repository somewhere you'd like to add, you can just very easily add it right there. No messing with the terminal on that. The, of course, downside, the snap is forced to be on. That might just be because this is KDE-Neon and that is based on Ubuntu. So I don't know for sure if every build of Plasma is going to have snap locked on, but it does. So let's go ahead and do a brief search. And I always do a search for Kdenlive because this will, let's see. Okay, so this will give us... let's see. So we have, okay, so default source, Kdenlive. We have a snap firmware. Oh, I think we're in settings still. Let's kick that off. Sometimes the settings system still isn't quite as good as it should be. Let me just do a search again. So that's not giving us exactly what we need, but if we go down to multimedia, for example, let's click in on that. Now let's do our search for Kdenlive. So I think there is still a little bit to be said for the new design. There we have it. We have Kdenlive. You can see now that it gives us the nice logo up here to indicate this one's the Flatpak version. This one's not. Let's go ahead and click in on this. Looks like this is coming from Ubuntu repositories. I'm not seeing the snap version. I used to pull up Plasma because, or KDE, excuse me, I'll get it eventually, Kdenlive, because there is a snap version as well. So I'd like to pull it up just to show the difference between them, although I'm not really seeing that here. Let's try and think, what is something that might be a snap? Let's look for Firefox. Of course, there's going to be nothing there because we're still inside of there. Let's see what happens if we do Firefox in the general. Okay, there we are. This is a Flatpak. Now let's go down to Internet. Get Firefox. So you'll see Flatpak is there, and it doesn't tell us Firefox is installed, but it's not listed over here. Let's look at the installed versions. So one of the downsides I am seeing is, okay, there's Firefox. So it's not telling me if this is a snap or if this is from this. This is saying it's like, this is kind of your indication from Ubuntu, but we know that the modern Ubuntu version is actually a snap. So it's possible they have this installed and it's running a snap. Who knows? So the downside, I think, of this, or maybe something they're still kind of working in, if you do a general search, it may not show up everything as much. I found searching into the categories is a little bit better just to get things set up. But, you know, the settings are good. Everything does work nicely. Now let's go ahead and get to some of the new options, and then we'll get into a few of the criticisms. So, of course, this is the new release. The biggest change we have is when you first upgrade to it or install it fresh, you are going to get a new welcome center. So let's go ahead and walk through that. So here's your welcome center. And each one of these options in here are clickable. So this is your system settings, simple by default. So there's that. Now, Vaults is something I've never used before, but it's really nice to see that it is now included in this welcome screen, because this gave me a shot to see exactly what vaults are. So you go over here and you set up a vault. I can set up a new vault right here. Let's call this one work. And then what you can do is you can choose the encryption type. So there's a few different type of encryption options. So unable to Detect the current version. There's that one. There's that one. Okay, we'll use that one. So this one says that it is, let's see. According to Security Audit by Taylor Hornby, the current implementation is vulnerable or potentially vulnerable. So yikes. So the security audit says, maybe we don't want to do that one. Let's go ahead and do this one. This one tells us that there is no specific safety audit available to confirm its security. So you have to understand that. I was trying to see, do they have any like Lux options in here? No, that's more full disk encryption. But let's go ahead and run with this. You got to give it some password. So let's just give it some password, which is horrible because that just says password. And then you'll kind of see that it's not a strong password. Do not do this on your main system. This tells you where the encrypted vault is located. This is where it mount points to. So you go ahead and hit next. And then if you have separate workspaces set up, then you can define which area that these go into. So I set up different workspaces just to test how that function works. So we'll just not limit to the selected areas, hit create, and now we have an encrypted place where we can put stuff in addition to just having it. So if I have a non-encrypted operating system here and I have certain things that I would like to be encrypted, this is going to enable me to have a section where I can put highly encrypted files. I'm not sure why it's lagging out like this. Let's just test the vaults now, see what that does. So it did not apparently finish it. I mean, I created the first one without any problem, and just adding that second one, that is possible because I'm recording the video. Maybe that's doing something. Let's go ahead and do work. Keep with that. Keep with that. Let's just change this to password. Password. Hit next. Hit next and create. Let's see if it actually works. As I said, it's like taking your car to the mechanic, right? It worked perfectly fine when I ran through all my testing. I tested building a vault. I tested new activities, all these different functions. And now that I'm actually trying to show you on the video, it's not working. I promise it worked perfectly fine. Maybe that was before I set the limit. We'll go ahead and let that go. Now the activities allows you to, this allows you to go in and to create separate workspaces just for different areas. And it tells you here how to get to it. So you can switch between them with meta. The meta key is like your Windows key. Meta and tab will launch between the two. And this thing here is actually interfering. So we're going to pause our recording until this thing's done doing whatever it's doing. All right, so we did get our vault to finally work. Not sure why it was lagging out. I actually had to force the system down, and then it went ahead and started. The other thing that I will mention is as you're working with these vaults, another option is going to pop up. It's going to ask you, when this vault is open, do you want to shut down all networking? So that is another option that we have. So this is where that is at. So you can see where it's mounted to at the top, and then we can dismount it like that. So then pulling up our vaults key here is going to give us the ability to open these guys up. And we can also configure the vault over here. So you can limit it over here. You can go offline when it's open, or you can hit the delete option. And so if you wanted to delete this vault, you have to enter the name of it, which does not tell you on this screen. So you have to know what the vault name is before you try to delete it. So that's your options there. Of course, KDE Connect, this is the old one where you can connect your phone. You're going to get your notifications for your phone on your computer screen. You can reply to text messages. You can sync the clipboard contents, and you can make your phone make noises. This works, I believe this works through network connectivity. So you have to be connected to the network in order to get this to run. Now you can download the Connect app in the Play Store or from F-Droid, and of course this deals with Android, so sorry iPhone users. But you can see it's in the hardware system over here. But you can actually go to each one of these spots in order to pull it up. All right. We have KRunner, search for anything. So this is using your Alt and F2 will give you a search at the top. So if I want to search for something like Firefox, it's going to give us we have a window that's open. We can launch a new instance, and then we can get into, customizing it, get help, suggested things. So there's a lot of different stuff in here. And I believe, you can actually software query, let's see, Software Center, get query, get flight of the Amazon, get Amazon workspaces. I thought there might be a setting somewhere to allow you to do some internet-based stuff. I thought I read that somewhere, but I don't think that is currently the case. And of course, that is exactly what caused a lot of controversy in Ubuntu. So I'd be really surprised if they added anything like that, although maybe not as surprised as we'll get to in a bit. You can see your overview. This tells it's your meta W. So this is your overall workspaces. You can add extra desktops. This shows you everything that's actually open. So we can head on back to there. And then the add-on sections as well. We're not going to click that one. We've already looked at Discover in a little bit of detail. And then this is where we start getting into some windows like territory. So I might very well label this video KDE Plasma 527 Windows Edition. Now, it does start out with this all disabled. So you can share anonymous usage with KDE. It is disabled by default. Here's your basic system information. This is kind of like the stuff you do in Windows 10 or above without being able to turn that off. At least here we can turn that off. This is usage statistics, your launch count, your usage time. And then we have detailed system information and basic usage. So application versions. You can see version times, usage times, locale information, panel count, screen parameters, and then detailed system information and usage statistics. So a lot of extra information. You can turn all that on or turn all that off, whatever you want. We do have a nice online account settings. They have OwnCloud, Nextcloud, Google. I don't see anything for Microsoft here. No, at least you can do that if you happen to want something like that. I'm not sure why you would. So that is your new features here. The next new features they give us is we get some extra tiling options. So if you just start with basic grabbing things, you can go to the maximize it just by scrolling to the top. Of course, you can do your top grid, bottom grid, or your whole center side. But if you're dragging windows and you hold shift, now you actually have layouts. And you can do tiling layouts. So if you want to set up your Plasma KDE with tiling, this is actually a really cool new feature for good organization if you wanted to do something. So, I do when I do my live streaming, I always have to set certain windows to certain sizes. I can actually set that. Now you do this by hitting your Meta and T, and this is going to give you your layout option. Then you can delete different things. Here's your split vertically. You can delete that one. Let me hit that again. And then you can, let's delete that one. Not sure why it's getting rid of that. Again, all this stuff was working perfectly fine a minute ago when I was first testing stuff. But over here, you can actually create different layouts. You can put the space, the padding. You can do load layout. Let's go ahead and add why in the world is it doing this? This thing is working perfectly fine for all eternity when I'm testing the system. And all of a sudden, now that I'm actually trying to show you how to do stuff on the setting, it's not allowing me to do all that kind of stuff. Because I want to delete that window so that we can show you adding a new tile. But now every single time, there we go. Now we got that to add a new tile. We can split it horizontally. We can split it vertically. And once again, now it is completely messing up when I am just trying to show you how to do it. I swear, before I turned on the screen recording, this was working perfectly fine. Let's see if we can just load a layout here. There we are. Let's start with a layout. That's good there. That was me actually clicking the button to end it. Let's go ahead and split this guy vertically. All right, there we are. Now we're actually kind of getting back to where we were at. Let's drop the padding a little bit. Let's split this one vertically. So now when we want to load a tile up, we can grab this guy, we can hold the shift, and then we just hover it in the vicinity of where we wanted things to be laid out, and it will automatically lay stuff out where we want it to go. So that's a cool new feature that we have inside of the system to support your tiling a little bit better. So we have our window tiling information, and that is what we see. Now, with all this being said, now let's kind of get into some of the Plasma KDE Windows Edition. There are some odd little things I have noted working around. For example, when I first pulled this up and I was messing around with Discover and I was looking for applications, I got a little notification down here saying, hey, you want to consider giving us usage statistics so we can improve our system. We also get this little notification here, get Plasma browser integration. This is like putting pop-ups, advertising pop-ups all over the desktop in weird and random places in the same line that Windows does. I'm sorry, hell no. What in the world are you guys thinking of? Again, I've only seen that notification here once. I wish I was rolling the recorder when I actually saw that, but it literally popped up down here, and it was an advertisement to turn on the usage statistics analytics so they can grab more system information about what is being used. It wouldn't surprise me if I spent a lot more time on the system to see more things like that popping up all over the place, but I've seen now at least 2 different pop-ups. Let's go ahead and click on this guy, see what that does. That opens this up here, and then now we have add to Firefox. So literally we had a advertisement on our panel which pops this up and says, hey, add this integration onto Firefox. No, thank you. I think I will kind of skip, and I do not appreciate my desktop actually popping up advertising. That's exactly why I stopped using Windows. So there are certainly a few downsides. Of course, I encountered 2 issues here recording this video. The first is setting up vaults seems to freeze out the computer. And the second of those is the tiling setup was not working right for me. And those were only really issues that occurred when I was recording. They weren't issues that that had occurred when I was actually first testing the system around for a little bit just to get familiar with it and see what I wanted to talk about. So I'm not sure if that could be a possible result of me recording the screen. That is a possibility. I have seen that interfere in the past. Not sure, but the fact they're giving me pop-ups being like, hey, turn on that data analytics so we can see your usage statistics, or hey, install this plugin so that Firefox can be added to the integration is a little offensive to me as a Linux user. I just do not want my operating system giving me little pop-up advertisements for other features. I might actually be aware of what I want to do with the system. So that's kind of my thoughts. Overall, I think this is a great improvement. This is going to be the last Plasma edition that we get in the 5 series. The next one are going to be 6, allegedly, what I've been reading. This is good. I do like it. I don't like those pop-ups and the advertisements, we'll call them, for lack of a better word. But outside of those things there, I do really like the improvements. I think they have, particularly that welcome screen, showed you exactly how to use things like vaults and workspaces. The tiling is useful. It's not something I would use personally, but it's certainly useful for some people out there. So that is awesome. I really do appreciate how the system is coming together. I appreciate how snappy they've been making it. And sorry, since we did that, let's go ahead and see what the system usage statistics look like at the very end after I've been messing around with everything. So right now it is using 1.5 gigabytes and 4 gigs. So it's not super system light apparently, but it does not feel like it's lagging out the system at all. So overall, I feel like it is doing pretty good. Of course, things like KDE Connect are running. They, if I can just turn that off or stop it from starting up, that would probably be better because it's not a feature I personally am likely to be using. I'm just not going to connect my phone to the system. I've done it in the past just to test it out, but there's that. And I'm sure we can probably come in over here and turn off things. Let's see. Can we search for KDE Connect? It's not there. Not there. I'm not seeing it actually anywhere, but if we could turn things like that off, it would go a long way towards saving some memory. And with that, though, it is a pretty nice system. You should check it out for sure. And but overall, if they're going to start giving us pop-ups to say, hey, install our app, or hey, turn on analytics for us, might become a hard no for me in the future. We'll see what happens down the road. With that, that was my look at Plasma 527. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.